Hello everyone. Welcome to today's video lecture of object-oriented programming using Java, and the paper code is CS504A. This is Shayani Chandra, Assistant Professor of Department of Computer Science and Engineering of Guru Nanak Institute of Technology. Let's look at today's lecture contents. Today we will learn how to use command line arguments in a Java program, and then after that we will learn the concept of wrapper class and how to use it in a Java program. So let us start with our first topic of today's lecture, which is command line argument. Sometimes it may happen that you want to pass information or data to a program when you run it or execute it. This can be accomplished by passing command line arguments to the main method. A command line argument is basically the information that directly follows the program's name on the command line. That means when it is being executed. To access the command line arguments inside a Java program, what we need to do is that we have to use string args in the main method that we normally use, because the um, syntax of main method in Java is public static void main string args. The command line arguments are stored as strings in the string array passed to the args parameter of the main. That is the main method. The first command line argument is stored at args0, the second one at args1, and so on. So let us do a simple program to understand how to use command line arguments in a program. This is a very simple program that will demonstrate how to use command line arguments in a Java program. This program demonstrates all the command line arguments that have been passed into it while executing the program. So this is the main class. The class name is command line, and that's why I have saved the program using the file name command line, and the extension is .java. This is the main method. This is string args. We all know that this args is an array of string type objects. I have already discussed about this part of the main method, and I already told that this part will be used while passing command line arguments into it. So today we will be discussing this part of this main method in detail, where you will see that whatever arguments we pass in command line or at the execution of the program or at the runtime of the program will be passed as string objects into this args array. So this args array is basically an array of string type objects. Now in the next line we have written a for loop. This I is the loop variable, which is an integer variable. It starts with 0. We all know that array indexing starts from 0 in case of C or C++ or Java languages. In all the languages array indexing starts from 0. So that's why, as we want to take the args 0 element also and we want to display it, that's why we have taken the initial value of the loop variable as 0, and I will loop till args dot length. Now this the length variable or length keyword, I have already explained it to you while explaining array, that length is a keyword which works along with arrays. It will compute the length of the array. So basically, if you want to compute the length of an array in Java, you can use this length keyword after the dot operator. And before the dot operator, you have to put the array name. So basically array name, then dot operator, then the length keyword. This will give you the length of the array. That means I will loop till the length of the array. So if the length of the array is say 5, then it will loop from 0 to 4. And after that, increment operation or post increment operation is there. In the next statement, what we are doing, we are printing the values of args I. That means when the value of I is 0, when the loop first time iterates, then args 0 will be printed, the value of args 0 will be printed. Then I will be incremented by 1. That means in the next line, the value of args1 will be printed, then again I will be incremented by 1 and it will be now 2. So in the next line, the value of args2 will be printed and so on, and it will continue till the length of the array. Now let's execute the program to see how the command line arguments are given and how are they stored into this args array. Now here I have executed the program. This is the compilation statement and this is the execution or interpretation statement. You can see that in the interpretation statement, after I have written the main class name, after that I have given a space, then I have written a string which is this. After that I have given another space and then I have written another string which is. After that I have given another space and then I have written a single character which is a, then again a space, then another string which is test. After that a space again, then um, value which is a negative value -100. After that a space again and then another integer value which is 1. So all these are treated as command line arguments and a space indicates that this is the end of the argument. Whenever you will give a space, that means it will be treated as the end of the argument. That means whenever you are giving this space here, whenever you are giving this space here, compiler will automatically assume that, sorry, JVM will automatically assume that this, that means this portion is an argument. After that, a space means that this argument is ended here. After that, another argument is this one. After that, a space is there. So JVM understands that this is the end of this second argument. After that, a character is there. So this is the third argument because after that, a space is there. So the third argument ends here. This is the fourth argument, and after that, a space is there. So JVM will understand that the fourth argument ends here. After that, an integer argument is there. After that, a space is there. So JVM will automatically understand that this fifth argument ends here. After that, another integer argument is there. And after that, we have given enter, which also means that this argument ends here. So every space means that the previous argument is ended there. So this is the first argument that will be stored in the 0th location of the ARGS array. This is the second argument that will be stored in the first location of the ARGS array. This is the third argument that will be stored in the second location of the ARGS array. This is the fourth argument that will be stored in the third location of the ARGS array. This is the fifth argument that will be stored in the fourth location of the ARGS array, and this is the sixth argument which will be stored in the fifth location of the ARGS array. That's because of the reason that array indices start from 0. Now after that, we have printed the arguments one by one starting from the base address 0, and that's why all the arguments are printed here. And in the program, I have written system.out.println, and for that ln, every argument is printed in a new line. Let us go back to the program. So this is how command line arguments are being executed. Whatever command lines you are passing, whatever arguments you are passing in command lines will all be stored into this ARGS array starting from the base address 0, then 1, then 2, and so on. That means, let me go back to the execution screen again. So that means these are the arguments that are being passed in command line. And why are they being called command line arguments? Command line actually means the interpretation line or the execution line. This is the interpretation line or execution line of this program. So whatever arguments we're passing in this line are known as command line arguments. And these are the arguments that are being passed in this execution line or interpretation line. That's why they are known as command line arguments, and all these arguments will be stored in the ARGS array, which is an array of string type objects. Now you may think that This is a string, is a string, a is a character, test is another string, but this minus 100 and 1, they are integer values. Then how they can be stored in an array of string type objects? This is very much possible because of the fact that the ARGS array can hold only string type objects, and whatever arguments we're passing in command line are all converted into strings automatically. So whenever we are passing this minus 100 and 1, although they are integer values, they are automatically converted into strings by JVM. And as they're converted into strings, so they can easily be stored into the ARGS array, which is an array of string type objects. So no type mismatch is there. Now you may think that if they're automatically converted into strings, then whenever we want to use them in our program to do some operations or manipulations, then the result may not be as desired. For that also a solution is there that is done using wrapper classes that I'll discuss next. So this is the concept of command line arguments. That means passing arguments in command line to a program, and where the arguments are being passed, they are passed to the main method, more specifically to the ARGS array of the main method, which is an array of string type objects. And whatever operations you want to perform on those command line arguments, you can easily perform like any other programs where you give values in the program itself. So this is the concept of command line argument. Now, as I just discussed that all the command line arguments are automatically or by default converted into strings by JVM so as to store them in the ARGS array, which is an array of string type objects. Now, the question that may come to your mind that how can you use those command line arguments in order to do manipulations? Because in the program that I just shown to you, you have seen that an integer value is also converted into string, and then it is stored into the ARGS array. So the question can arise like if you want to do some operations, suppose you want to do some addition operation on those two integer values minus 100 and 1, then it may not give you the desired result. Then what is the solution? The solution is wrapper classes. Wrapper classes are there to convert those strings into their original primitive data types again in order to perform the operations. Now before going into that details, let us discuss the basic concept of wrapper class. We know that Java is an object oriented programming language, and Java can view everything as an object, literally everything as an object. For example, a simple file can be treated as an object, an address of a system can be seen as an object, an image file even can also be treated as an object. In fact, a simple data type can be treated as an object. It can be converted into an object. So today we will discuss about wrapper classes. These wrapper classes are used to convert any primitive data type into an object, and the opposite can also be done using wrapper classes. That means to get back the original data type from the object, we also use wrapper classes. The primitive data types that we use in Java programming language are not objects. They do not belong to any class. They are defined in the language itself. Sometimes it is required to convert the data types into objects in Java language. For example, we can say that up to JDK 1.4 version, the data structures used to accept only objects to store. A data type needs to be converted into an object and then added to a stack or vector, etc. Now for this conversion, the wrapper classes were introduced. But now in the latest versions of JDK, this is not the case. But wrapper classes are really important till now. Now let us start with the formal definition of wrapper classes. Now, as the name says, a wrapper class wraps or encloses around a data type, a primitive data type specifically, and gives it an object appearance. Whenever the data type is required as an object, this object can be used. Wrapper classes include methods to unwrap the object also and give back the primitive data type again. It can be compared with a chocolate. The manufacturer wraps up the chocolate with some foil or paper kind of thing to prevent it from pollution or unauthorized access or misuse. When the user buys the chocolate, he or she removes the wrapper, throws the wrapper, and eats the chocolate. Now, let us do some coding in order to understand this concept better. Here you can see that this k is an integer data type, integer variable, sorry, which contains a value 100. Now in the next line, we have created an object I of integer class. Now this integer is the wrapper class. Now we will discuss about the wrapper classes, the types of wrapper classes later. Just understand the concept here that this integer is a wrapper class, and we all know that we can create object of a class, so we can also create an object of a wrapper class. This integer is a wrapper class that is being used in order to wrap up the primitive data type int into an object kind of thing. So this I is the object of this wrapper class integer, and here this int variable k or this int data type is being converted into an object using this I object of this integer class. And the I object can be used in Java programming whenever the value of k is being required as an object. Here we are passing the variable k itself in the constructor part of this object creation statement. That means this, whenever we are passing this k variable into this constructor, that means this k will now have an appearance of an object. This k is a primitive data type, primitive value, primitive variable, and its data type is int, which is a primitive data type. Now it has been given an object appearance using the wrapper class of the primitive data type int, which is integer, and the object that has been created for this purpose from this integer class is I. So now using this I, you can have an object appearance of this k integer variable. Now there is also another approach to do this, that means to convert a primitive type into an object. Let us see that now. Now this is another example which shows that a is an integer variable, its data type is primitive type int, and it has a value 10. Now again we are using the integer wrapper class because we are using the primitive data type int, and we want to convert it, and we want to give it an object appearance. Now that's why we are using its corresponding wrapper class, which is int. Every primitive data type can be converted into an object in using wrapper class in Java, and for every primitive data type there is a particular wrapper class in Java, which are called the types of wrapper classes or the categories of wrapper classes that we will discuss next. So this is the integer wrapper class, which is used for giving an object appearance to the primitive data type int. Now, as it is a class, we are creating an object I1 from it. And what we are doing here, we are using a method value of, and this method will do the same thing that this statement will do. This statement will convert this primitive data type, and it will give this primitive data type into an it will give this primitive data type an object appearance using the object I of the class integer. Here we have taken this I1 reference variable from this integer class, and we have used the value of method in order to wrap up or enclose this primitive data type A or the primitive variable A into an object using the reference variable I1, and this method resides in the integer class itself. This method will do the same thing that this statement will do. Basically this value of statement will actually, the value of method will actually convert this primitive variable into an object of this integer class, which is a wrapper class for this primitive data type. So this method actually resides inside this integer wrapper class. That's why we are using this integer class name here, because this method is a static method, and we already discussed in our previous lecture that in order to access a static method, we have to use its class name. That's why we are using its class name before. After that, dot operator is there, and then the method name is there in order to do the conversion from the primitive data type int into an object. This statement is not required after Java version 1.5. This statement can be automatically done by the Java virtual machine like this. Sorry, not by the JVM, but by the compiler. So here what we are doing, we have taken another reference variable j, which is of this integer class, and after that we have written an assignment operator, and after that we have written the primitive variable itself. This will also do the same thing as this statement will do, and this statement will do. This statement will actually do the conversion from the primitive data type int into an object. This value of method will also do the same thing, and this statement will also do the same thing. So here if you print the value of I, you will get 100. If you print the value of I1, you will get 10. If you print the value of j, then also you will get 10. So this statement is perfectly valid in Java from the version 1.5. This conversion like this is known as auto boxing, which is supported in Java from version 1.5 of Java. But before the version of 1.5, you have to use either this statement in order to convert this primitive data type into an object, or this value of method in order to do so. But after version 1.5, if you write this thing, then also the conversion will automatically take place. That means Java compiler will automatically convert this primitive data type into an object using the reference variable j. So this is known as auto boxing. So basically here in this statement or in this statement, we are doing the conversion explicitly. But here in this statement, the conversion is taking place implicitly or internally by the compiler. That's why this conversion type is also known as auto boxing. So this is a simple program that shows the same thing that I just have shown you. And this is a primitive variable which contains 20. It's the primitive data type associated with it is int, and here we are using the wrapper class for int data type which is integer. I should be capital. Remember that every class corresponding to every primitive data type is every wrapper class corresponding to every primitive data type is written using a capital letter. The first letter is capital. Then this is the variable of this integer class, and this value of method is doing the conversion explicitly. And after that we have written the auto boxing statement, which will do the conversion from primitive data type into an object internally by the compiler. Then if we print the values of a, I and j, all will contain 20. So you will be seeing an output of this program as 20 space 20 space 20. So let's execute the program to see the output. As I just told that the output should be 20 20 20. Now let's go to the topic of unboxing. Unboxing means that till now we have converted a primitive data type into its equivalent object to give it an object appearance. Now it may happen that sometimes we want to get back the original data type from the object, and for that we have to use some predefined methods. But from after the Java version 1.5, you can also do this automatically. Java does this automatically for you, which is known as unboxing. So let me give you a small example to show you that. This is an example program that unboxes integer object into its own original data type, which is int. Here you can see that we have taken an integer value which is 3, and we have done the conversion explicitly using this statement. So here you can see that the value 3 has been converted into its equivalent object, and the object that will demonstrate, that will actually be used as the integer data type is A. So using this A, we can easily use this integer value, which is 3. That means this 3 has been wrapped up into an object, and the object appearance has been given to this value, and that has been done using this object A. Now, if you want to get back the original data type again, and if you want to get back the original int value again, then you have to do the conversion from object to int. And for that, we can use a method named int value. Here you can see that this v is capital. This int value method can actually be used upon the object in order to get back the original integer value from it. So whenever we are writing this int value method on this object, which is being used as an object using which we are accessing the integer value, whenever we are writing this int value method on this object, then using this int value method, we are actually converting the object A into its original value, which is an integer value, which is 3, and that value is being converted here. And after that, when we are using this I integer variable in order to store it, the value gets stored into it. So this is how we can convert the integer object into its original data type explicitly. But from Java version 1.5, this conversion is being done by the compiler automatically. So if you write like this, that means int j equal to a, that means automatically Java will assume that you actually, as because a is an object and here j is a simple integer variable, so compiler will automatically assume that you want to do the unboxing operation, or you want to convert the object A and you want to get back its original value and you want to store it into J. So compiler will do the unboxing operation. Unboxing operation is being done internally, means that compiler will automatically execute this statement. That means a dot int value. This method will be called on this A object internally by the compiler in order to do this unboxing operation. So this is the unboxing operation statement, and this is the statement that will give you the same output, but here you are doing the conversion explicitly, and here it is being done internally or implicitly by the compiler. That's why it is known as unboxing, because you are opening up the wrapper that has been wrapped around the um, original data type. That's why it is known as unwrapping. And here in this statement, we have wrapped up the data into an object. So this program, if you want to print the value of A, that should give you 3, because you have wrapped up the data 3 and you have given it an object appearance. So this, using this object, you can also access the value 3. So A will also give you 3. Then after that, if you want to print the value of I, that will also give you 3, because you have done the conversion externally or explicitly. And if you want to print the value of J, this should also give you 3, because the unboxing has happened internally. So this program should give you 3 space 3 space 3 as output. So let's execute the program to see the output. So this is what I just discussed. This should be the output. So this is how autoboxing and unboxing takes place. Autoboxing actually means automatically converting a primitive data type and give it an object appearance, and unboxing means automatically converting the object and get back its original primitive data type. So this is the main function of using wrapper class in a program. Now you have already seen that the integer class is known as a wrapper class because it wraps around integer type data type, int data type, which is a primitive data type, to give it an impression of object. To wrap or to convert each primitive data type, there comes a wrapper class. 8 wrapper classes exist in Java .lang package that represent 8 data types. Now this is the list. So basically these wrapper classes reside in the java.lang package. I have mentioned this package name one or two times in my previous lectures, and I have also told you that this is a system defined package which is there in the Java language. We will discuss this package in detail when we will discuss about the package concept. So as of now, you just keep in mind that all these wrapper classes reside in the java.lang package. So these are the types of number wrapper classes, because all of them are numbers. Actually, all of these are number data types, which are the primitive data types. And the wrapper classes for these data types are byte, short, integer, long, float. Sorry, this one should be double. Let me change. Yes, now it is changed. So these are the six wrapper classes for all the primitive number type data types that are available in Java, which are byte, short, int, long, float, double. And these are the wrapper classes for all the primitive number type data types, which are integer types and floating point types. These are the six wrapper classes for all of them. Another data type which is there in Java is Boolean, and this capital B Boolean is the wrapper class for that data type. And another data type which is there in Java is char, and this is the wrapper class for that, which is capital C character. So these eight wrapper classes that are associated with each of the eight primitive data types that are available in Java. So every primitive data type has a wrapper class associated with it, and if you want to deal with that primitive data type, you have to use its corresponding wrapper class in order to do the operation. Just like I have used integer wrapper class to deal with the primitive data type int. Now this is the main function, and these are the types of wrapper classes that are available in Java. And I have also discussed about the main function of using wrapper classes, which is to give every primitive data type an object appearance and to do vice versa. Now we are coming to our main point, that if you want to operate, or if you want to manipulate the values that are being passed as command line arguments to the args array, how will you do it? Because if you are passing an integer value or some other value apart from string values, then they will automatically get converted by JVM into strings in order to store them into the args array. So if you want to deal with those values, if you want to manipulate those values, then how are you going to do it? That can also be done using wrapper class, which is another function of wrapper class. So wrapper class can also be used to convert strings into data types, which is known as parsing operation. And for that, certain methods are already there, which are also defined inside the wrapper classes. Now let me show you a small example program to show you how you can add two numbers, and the numbers are being passed as command line arguments. So that means the numbers that we will pass will all be converted into strings. So if you want to add them directly using the plus arithmetic operator, that will just do concatenation of two strings, nothing else. But that is not at all desired. You have to convert the strings back into their original data types in order to do the operations. So let us do that program now. Suppose I have done a program like this. So I have written short form here. Public static void main string args is actually this one, and this one is actually system.out.println. I have not written the full form. I have written the short form. Suppose I have done a program like this. This is a simple program to add two numbers, and we want to take the value of a in the 0th command line argument, and we want to take the value of b as the first command line arguments. That means when we will be executing this program in the command line, we will write two values, say for example 2 or 3 or whatever. And here we can see that these variables are of integer types. That means this program wants to add two integer values, which are stored in the 0th location of the args array, and the next one is stored in the first location of the args array. Then we want to add them. Now suppose we are executing the program. So while executing the program, we have to write down the execution statement like this. Suppose this program is being saved as a.java. So because the main class is a, so we have to write down the execution program like this. That means this 2 will be stored into the args 0 position, and this 1 will get stored into the args 1 position. So they will be automatically converted into strings before storing into args, because the concept says so. So whenever we will be adding a plus b, whenever we will be doing a plus b, that means it will do 2 plus 3, because 2 and 3 both are strings. So this plus will not act as arithmetic operator. Instead, it will act as a concatenation operator, which will basically concatenate two strings, 2 and 3, and it will give you this as output, which is not your desired output. That means if you want to add two integer values a and b by passing them as command line arguments like this, you cannot do this. So how can you do this? Let's do a program to show you that. So this is how you can do this. This is the program to add two integer values that have been passed as command line arguments to this args array. Now, this A holds the first value that has been passed into the args array, and this B holds the second value that has been passed as an argument into the args array. You can see these things. Now, this integer is the wrapper class. We all know that another function of using wrapper class is to convert strings into its desired original data type. Now, the value that has been stored into the 0th position of this args 0 args array is an integer, is a string value. You have to convert it into its original integer value before adding it, before doing addition operation on it. So in order to convert that, you have to use the parse method. This parse method will actually convert this string stored in the args 0 location into its original data type, which is 0, which is int, sorry. So parse int. Why int? Because you want to convert this string into int. That's why parse int. So this parse method, which is of the form this, this is the form of the parse method. So this parse method will actually do the conversion from string to its original data type, because it is actually parsing the strings into its original data type. So conversion here actually means parsing the strings stored in the args array into their original data type. So this parse function, and after that I have written ZZZ, which is the syntax actually, and this portion will actually contain the data type, and the first letter of that data type should be written in capital. Like if you are using if you want to convert a string into its float, then you have to write it down here, parse float, and f should be capital. If you want to convert the string into double, then you have to write it here, parse double, where d should be capital. In our program, we are converting the string argument that has been stored in the 0th location of the args array into integer. That's why we have written int there, where I is written in capital. That's why the parse method for every primitive data type will be of the form parse z z z, where this letter should be capital and all the rest of the letters should be small. So let us go back to the program. So this is the program. So this parseInt method will actually convert the string argument that has been stored into the 0th location of this args array into int again. And this parseInt method also is a method of the wrapper class integer. So here also we are using the wrapper class integer in order to do the conversion from string to its original data type. So this is another use of wrapper class in Java, which is very much useful in taking input as command line arguments. In the next statement also we are doing the same thing, because we want to do the same thing for the second value to be added also. The second value that has been stored into the first location of the ArgS array should also be converted from string to integer. For that, we are using the parseInt method again, which is a method of the integer wrapper class. As it is a static method, that's why we are accessing it using the class name. After that, normal addition operation has been written, and after that the value of C is printed. Now this program should give you the addition of the two values A and B after converting them into integers from strings using these two statements or using the parse int methods. So let's execute the program to see the output. As I just told that these are the two arguments that have been passed into the ArgS array. They are automatically converted into strings by JVM by default. They have been converted into integers back again using the parseInt method of the wrapper class integer that we have already used in our program. And after that, we have performed an addition operation on these two values that gives you 5 as output. So this is another use of wrapper class, which is very much useful in Java. Here you have seen that how we can take inputs as command line arguments and how we can use them to do normal operations or manipulations. Till now we have done programs by taking values in the program itself, but today we have learned a different way of taking input in Java, which is taking input in command line arguments, and after that you have to convert them in order to get its original value, in order to get its original primitive data type. And after that you can do whatever operations you wish to do on those variables or on those values. So this is a wrap for today's lecture. Today you have learned what is command line arguments, what are the uses of wrapper classes, and how you can use wrapper classes in order to take inputs into a Java program as command line arguments. In the next lecture, we will see the concept of strings in Java, how strings can be used, because I have already told that strings in Java is quite different from the strings that you have used in C or C++ languages. So in the next lecture, we will study about strings. Thank you for listening to today's lecture. See you in the next lecture.